But before we have the Bible reading, which Rachel is going to read for us, you need to practice some stuff. And to help you with that, I'm going to ask Ron to come out to the front. Absolutely. The man needs a round of applause. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Ron, you might need to come in the middle where everyone can see you. Yeah, absolutely. So Ron is going to be leading the actions, okay? But you all need to practice. Now, you are taking on all the emotions of the women in our story, okay? And so the first thing you have to be is you have to be sad. So Ron's going to lead. Everyone can be sad like Ron. You can even cry and hold each other's hands. Lovely. The second thing you need to be is surprised. Wow, Ron, you were really surprised. That was terrifying. Okay, and then you might be afraid. Now, this one might be difficult to do on a chair, but the next thing the women did is they crept. I'm impressed with your chair creeping, everybody. Fantastic. And then you're confused. I know, it's a gift. And then you continue to be confused and you don't know whether you're happy or you're sad. And you're confused and you're happy and you're sad and you're confused. Oh my goodness. And then you need to be amazed. Now, I don't know how amazed looks different to surprised, but that's your demonstration. There we go. And then the final thing that women are going to do in this story is they're going to wave goodbye. Fantastic. So Rachel's going to come and read us. Listen out for when you need to be all of those things.
It was very early. The birds were still in bed, and the sun had yet to open its bright eye on the world. The sky was grey and rainy, the air was cold, and 3 women walked slowly towards the graveyard. Jesus was buried there, and the women were coming to visit his grave. They talked in sad whispers. They cried. They held each other's hands. Jesus had been dead for 3 days, and they missed him very much. Just as they reached the graveyard, however, some surprising things happened. The ground began to shake. The air began to tremble. And quick as lightning, an angel flashed down from heaven and rolled the stone away from Jesus' tomb. Everything went quiet. The ground stopped moving, but the women shook with fear. "Don't be afraid," the angel said. "Come and see. The tomb is empty. Jesus is alive." Hey. Arm in arm, the women crept past the angel and into the tomb. The sheets were still there. The sheets they'd wrapped round his dead body. But Jesus himself was gone. "Where is he?" asked the women. "And what have you done with him?" "I told you," smiled the angel. "He's not dead anymore. He's come back to life. And he wants you to tell all of his friends." The women looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They could hardly believe it. That is, until they hurried out of the tomb and ran straight into Jesus. "Oh, Jesus," they cried, "it's true, you are alive." And they fell at his feet amazed. "There's no need to be afraid anymore," he said. "God has made everything all right. But I have a job for you. I want you to tell the rest of my friends that I'm alive. Tell them I'll meet them by the seashore in Galilee, where all our adventures started." The women waved goodbye and hurried off to Jerusalem. The birds were singing now. The sun's bright eye was wide open, and they had the most amazing story to tell.
I'm back, everybody. So, We've talked about a lot of things this morning. We started off the service right at the beginning, didn't we, Colin? With a slide. And on the slide, oh, they're up there as well. Oh, Brian's a genius. I had no idea. And that sounded more rude than it was intended to be. You're very lovely. So, on the slide up here, we've got pictures of sunflowers. How many people were here when we planted the sunflowers in church? Amazing. Our sunflowers have been on a journey. Ours at home have not been on a very long journey. That's why there's no photo of ours. But we've not killed them. They're just a little bit tiny. So we can see here, some people have some very, very impressive sunflowers. I loved it when the messages came in with the pictures because people keep saying, this one is mine. I haven't stolen someone else's. I like that. But our sunflowers have been on a journey. They've been on a journey from a seed into a plant. And if we leave them, we're assuming that some of them will then continue their journey to become a flower. And then the flower will produce seeds, and the journey will go on and on. Those of you who've been here during Lent will know that we've been talking a lot about journeys. We've talked about the journey of a disciple called Paul, who started his life as Saul, and Jesus came to him in a massive bright light. We talked about the story of the Good Samaritan who was beaten, and lots of people just ignored him, and it was a story of how we should live our lives by caring for each other. We talked about the road to Emmaus, some people who met Jesus after he came back to life again on Easter Sunday. And then we've talked about the story of Jesus. But today, we've talked about the story of these women. These women who we don't even know their names, which is shocking. But hey, that's how it is. And we've heard about the journey that they went on, the journey from being sad because Jesus had been buried, he died. It was the end. And then they were surprised because things weren't how they expected. They'd expected to go to the tomb and find Jesus' body and prepare it and do all the things that they were supposed to do in terms of their religion, but they couldn't do that because that's not what was there. The stone had gone. The grave was empty. They were surprised. And then they were like, oh my goodness, this could be really bad. And they were afraid. And then they were reassured by the angel. And then they were confused because they still didn't know where Jesus was. He disappeared. Dead people don't do that. They're like very, very tiny babies. They stay where you put them. It's not normal. And this is a fantastic story. And those of us who've read the Easter story over and over again, we think resurrection is normal. We go, oh yeah, Jesus died and he came back alive again. Yeah. It's not normal. It's amazing. And so when they met Jesus, it says, it's true. You are alive. And they fell at his feet amazed. I have never fallen at somebody's feet because I was amazed. And I've been amazed quite a lot of times. I'm just thinking about how amazed you'd have to be before you fell at somebody's feet. I mean, that's quite amazed, really, isn't it? It's exciting. Anyway, got a little bit distracted there by being amazed. And the great news is that because they were amazed, they did what Jesus told them. He said, go and tell the rest of my friends that I'm alive. And they did. And do you know the shocking thing? They went to their friends and they said, look, we've met Jesus, he's come back alive again. They went, no, don't be silly. They're there, dear. But it was true. And then they met Jesus and it carried on and the story carried on. And that's why we're here today. And it's amazing. So that was the story of the women. But we're also talking about the story of Jesus. And lots of us know the beginning of the story of Jesus, I think, okay? Because I'm pretty sure most of you know what happened at Christmas. And at Christmas, Jesus was a baby, manger, Mary, Joseph, shepherds, those things. And that's the beginning of the story and the beginning of the journey. And Jesus' journey was a long one. And it went through all sorts of different emotions, like the women we talked about today. And then he was put to death. And then he rose again. And it's amazing. When I wrote this, I thought we were singing a completely different song this morning. I thought we were singing, we want to see Jesus lifted high, instead of the one we did sing, which is also about lifting Jesus high. And the one that I thought was singing, as it says, Jesus came from the earth to the cross, and from the cross to the grave, and from the grave to the sky. And that's on me, because I thought that was what the song was even when I read the title, and I searched up the lyrics, and the lyrics I thought were there were not there, which is bad. So those of you who know the song, you can kind of imagine that was the idea. Those of you who don't worry about it, it's just my brain. So, what is our road? We've talked about the road of the women. We've talked about loads of roads over the past few weeks. We've talked about Jesus' road. But what is our road? If our life is a road, where are we on our journey? Well, we don't know, do we? But are we near the beginning? Are we in the middle? Are we near the end? We have no idea. We don't know. But what we can know is where we're going and what is our destination. The theme of today's service, I discovered when I read the order of service, is by resurrection we have eternal life, which is an awful lot of complicated things. But it says because Jesus came back to life, we can live forever. Not in our earthly bodies, because we would get very, very old, but in a heavenly way. And that is Jesus' promise to us. Jesus says that if we believe in him, we can have eternal life. We can live with Jesus forever. And if you have never made that your own story, and that's not part of your journey at the moment, I would really encourage you to do that, to say to Jesus, yes, I want to travel with you. I want to be on your path and go to your destination of eternal life. And if you want to say that prayer, I'd do it quietly, or somebody will be very, very willing to pray with you after the service. But wherever we are, wherever our destination is, our destination to spend eternal life with Jesus, it's not just now, and then we fast forward through. There's a whole life in between. And what are we going to do with our life? Today is about good news. So do the people that you're traveling with on your journey, do they know your good news? When we go back to wherever we go on Monday or probably Tuesday, because it's a bank holiday, and people say, so what did you do over the weekend? Going, I celebrated Jesus was alive. Yes, that is the answer. Excellent. But that takes, it's an interesting conversation starter. But what are we going to tell them about Jesus' offer of eternal life and our faith and our belief and all of those things? Do the people we meet on our journey know that there's good news? Have they heard? So is our journey a positive journey? Is it having a positive impact on the people around us? And one of the ways we can impact on the people around us is through prayer.